Ethan had never thought that a single invitation could change his life forever. One ordinary morning, while sipping his lukewarm coffee and reading messages on his tablet, he saw a notification stamped with the insignia of the Interstellar Council. It was an official summons marked urgent asking him to travel to Zithera Prime, the capital of the Zalari Empire. He blinked. The Zalari Empire? That was one of the most advanced alien civilizations in the known galaxy. Their technology could bend gravity, manipulate energy fields, and sustain life in places humans could barely survive. And now somehow they wanted him, a simple human diplomat, to come to their palace. Ethan packed quickly, wondering what he could possibly offer that would interest a civilization so far beyond humanity's current level. His mother had always said he had a way with people, a calm presence in tense situations. Perhaps that was why they called him. He only hoped that would be enough. After a long journey aboard a sleek council cruiser, Ethan's shuttle docked at Zithera Prime Station, a floating city with towering spires of crystal-like metal, glowing softly in the planet's orbit. The shuttle's doors opened, and he stepped into a corridor lined with floating holographic guides. Each guide greeted him with a voice that was soft but authoritative, welcoming him to the palace. He had never felt smaller in his life. Soon he was led through vast halls where walls shimmered with colors he didn't recognize. Pools of light floated above his head, illuminating floating gardens where alien plants waved gently as if acknowledging his presence. It was breathtaking but also intimidating. Every step reminded him that he was in a place far beyond human imagination. Finally, he was brought before a set of enormous doors carved from a crystal-like substance that seemed to hum with energy. The guards, tall and elegant with translucent skin and eyes that glowed faintly, stepped aside. Ethan's heart pounded. Beyond these doors waited Queen Zalara, the ruler of the Zalari Empire, and one of the most feared and respected leaders in the galaxy. When the doors opened, Ethan froze. The throne room was enormous, circular, with ceilings that stretched far above him. Light flowed through floating prisms, scattering into patterns that danced across the walls. In the center sat Zalara, tall and regal, her skin a soft shade of silver blue, her eyes like liquid gold. But it wasn't her beauty that stunned Ethan. It was her expression. She looked worried, and then he saw the source of her concern. In her arms was a small alien infant, clearly her child, wriggling and crying. Ethan had never seen anything like it. The baby's skin shimmered with tiny patterns that pulsed in rhythm with its cries, almost like a living energy source. The cries were more than just noise. They seemed to vibrate in the air, creating tiny disturbances in the floating prisms. Ethan swallowed hard. The queen, noticing his hesitation, gave a small, strained smile. "You are here, human," she said, her voice melodic yet commanding. "Good, perhaps you can help." I'm honored, Your Majesty," Ethan stammered, unsure how to proceed. "But I'm not sure what you need me to do." Zalara's eyes softened, though her worry remained. She handed the wriggling infant toward him. Ethan's eyes widened. "Calm her," the queen said simply. "If you can calm my daughter, I will offer you a reward. A reward that humans rarely receive from our kind." Ethan blinked, confused. "A reward?" The queen's lips curved into a faint, almost playful smile. "If you calm my baby, I will consider a symbolic union with you. Marriage, if you will. It is more than a personal promise. It is a gesture of trust and respect between our species. Few humans are ever offered this honor." Ethan's jaw dropped. Marriage, him? With the queen of the Zalari Empire? He swallowed, trying to find words, but none came. He had read about diplomacy, about gestures and symbolic alliances, but nothing like this. The baby in his arms wriggled violently, sending tiny pulses through the room that made the prisms flicker erratically. Ethan quickly realized that these weren't ordinary cries. They had a physical effect on the environment. He had to act, and fast. He began with what he knew, calmness. He spoke softly in human tones to the baby, gently rocking her. He hummed a tune, though he wasn't sure if the baby could understand it. The little one's patterns flickered faster, and the energy pulses grew stronger. Clearly she wasn't soothed. The queen watched intently, her golden eyes fixed on Ethan. "Most humans fail at this," she said quietly. "Few can handle the energy our children produce." Ethan took a deep breath. He studied the baby carefully. Her cries were rhythmic, almost musical, and her glowing patterns pulsed in certain sequences. Then an idea struck him. He remembered reading about human responses to music and vibration. Maybe he could merge human intuition with the baby's natural energy rhythm. He held the infant gently and started to tap a soft rhythm on his arm, keeping time with the baby's pulses. He spoke in calm, low tones, slowly syncing his movements with the baby's energy. The room seemed to respond. The floating prisms flickered less violently. The baby's cries softened to whimpers. The queen leaned forward, curiosity replacing worry. "Interesting," she murmured. "Few humans notice the patterns. You pay attention." Ethan nodded, though his focus remained entirely on the infant. He adjusted his rhythm, letting his breathing match the baby's pulses. Slowly, almost magically, the baby stopped wriggling. Her glowing patterns shifted to a steady, soft rhythm. She cooed quietly and reached for Ethan's hand, a small, trusting gesture. For a moment, the room was silent except for the gentle hum of energy from the prisms. Ethan looked at the queen, unsure if she would react. Then a smile appeared on her face, broad, genuine, and relieved. You have calmed her," Zalara said, her voice almost soft with amazement. "No human has done this before. You have my attention, human. You have my respect." Ethan felt a mix of relief and pride. The baby looked up at him, cooing softly, her golden eyes gleaming. For the first time he realized he had made a connection, not just with an alien infant, but with an entire species' culture and emotions. The queen set the baby down gently on a floating cradle, still looking at Ethan with a new curiosity. "You are unusual," she said. "Most humans rely on technology. Most aliens rely on strength or intellect, but you relied on intuition, patience, and heart. Perhaps these qualities are the most powerful of all." Ethan blinked. He had spent his life thinking he was just an ordinary human, but here, in the heart of an alien empire, he felt extraordinary. He had done what no human had done before. The queen's advisors whispered among themselves, clearly astonished. Ethan noticed them, but he didn't mind. He had earned his place here, at least for now. Zalara stepped closer. "There is more to this challenge, human," she said. Calming the infant was the first test. "There are others to come, but you have begun to prove that humans have strengths that even advanced civilizations cannot replicate." Ethan swallowed, trying to stay composed. I will do my best," he said, his voice steady. The queen nodded, her golden eyes shining with approval. "Good, for now rest. Tomorrow you will meet my court, learn more about our ways, and begin the next phase. But remember this, your humanity, your courage, your empathy. These are not weaknesses. They are your greatest weapons." Ethan left the throne room feeling a mix of awe, excitement, and nervousness. He had calmed the baby, earned the queen's respect, and in some strange way taken his first step into an entirely new life. One that could change not just his destiny, but the relationship between humans and the Zalari Empire forever. As he walked through the palace corridors, he couldn't help but glance back at the floating cradle where the infant slept peacefully. A small smile tugged at his lips. Somehow he knew this was only the beginning. The adventure, the challenge, and the chance to prove humanity's worth had just begun. For the first time, Ethan understood the truth of what the queen had said. Human heart, courage, and empathy could achieve what technology and intellect alone could not. And in a galaxy filled with wonder and danger, that realization made him feel truly powerful. The next morning, Ethan awoke in a guest chamber unlike anything he had ever seen. The walls were made of a translucent material that shimmered with soft, moving colors. Light streamed in from a dome above, showing alien skies filled with two suns. His bed floated slightly above the floor, supported by invisible energy fields, and soft, humming orbs glided lazily around the room. Despite the beauty, Ethan's mind raced. Yesterday he had calmed the queen's infant, Leora, and earned the queen's rare approval. But Zalara had warned him that this was only the first test. What could possibly come next? He didn't have to wait long for answers. A soft chime sounded and a guide appeared, a small winged creature with translucent skin and luminous eyes. "Your presence is requested in the court, human," it said, its voice gentle but firm. "The queen wishes to teach you our customs." Ethan took a deep breath. He had barely processed the honor of yesterday, and now he was being brought into the heart of Zalari governance. He followed the guide through a series of corridors lined with alien murals that seemed to move. telling stories of battles, discoveries, and alliances across the galaxy. The deeper he went, the more he realized how ancient and advanced this civilization was. Finally, they entered a large chamber, the court hall, where dozens of Zalari officials waited. Their expressions were curious, skeptical, and in some cases amused. At the far end, Queen Zalara stood, dressed in ceremonial robes that shimmered with the same golden light as her eyes. Leora cooed softly from a floating cradle beside her. Ethan felt a wave of nervousness. He had never been in a room full of such powerful beings before. Their gaze alone made him feel small, and yet he remembered the Queen's words. Human heart, courage, and empathy are your greatest weapons. Zalara raised her hand, and the room fell silent. Human, she said, her voice echoing slightly in the high-ceilinged hall. You have calmed my child. That is remarkable. But calm alone does not make one worthy. Today you will face the next test. It is not a test of strength or intelligence. It is a test of understanding and patience. Ethan nodded, trying to appear confident. I am ready, Your Majesty. The Queen gestured toward a large platform at the center of the room. On it sat several small devices, each shaped like a floating crystal. They pulsed with a soft rhythmic glow. These are called harmonic orbs, she explained. They respond to emotional energy. Each one represents a different aspect of your nature: patience, empathy, courage, and intuition. Your task is to activate them in harmony, using only your understanding of human and Zalari emotion. Many have tried. Most fail. Ethan felt his stomach tighten. He had handled the baby's energy yesterday by instinct, but this was entirely new. He stepped forward, taking a deep breath. The moment his hand hovered over the first orb, it reacted. It flickered violently, showing that it sensed his hesitation. Ethan closed his eyes briefly, focusing on calmness just as he had with Leora. Slowly, he let his mind clear, thinking only of patience. The orb's glow steadied. Encouraged, he moved to the next orb, representing empathy. He thought of Leora's tiny hand reaching for him, the trust she had shown despite being so alien. He thought of the Queen's cautious hope. He let those feelings fill him. The orb brightened, pulsing in harmony with his emotions. The court watched silently. Ethan felt the weight of their gaze but did not falter. He approached the third orb, courage. He remembered the moment yesterday when the baby's energy could have disrupted the entire palace, and how he had acted without fear. He channeled that courage into the orb. Its glow grew steady, almost warm, as if acknowledging his bravery. Finally, he approached the last orb, intuition. This was the hardest. Unlike patience or courage, intuition was a feeling subtle and unpredictable. Ethan closed his eyes again and focused, letting his instincts guide him. Slowly, the orb responded, its light matching the rhythm of the others. Suddenly, all 4 orbs began to pulse together, casting a soft, harmonious glow across the hall. The energy filled the room, and Ethan felt a deep connection, not just to the orbs, but to the Zalari themselves. For a moment, he understood what the Queen had meant. This was not just about controlling or managing energy. It was about understanding and connecting with it. Zalara's eyes shone brighter than ever. Remarkable, she said softly. You have not only completed the task, human, but you have done so with elegance and understanding. Few of our kind can achieve this harmony. Ethan exhaled slowly, relief washing over him. The court began to murmur, some nodding in approval, others whispering in disbelief. He had impressed them, and more importantly, he had learned something vital. Humans, though physically weaker than many alien species, possessed a unique power in emotion and understanding. Before he could celebrate, the Queen's voice interrupted his thoughts. There is one more aspect to your trial, she said, her tone serious. You must now demonstrate your ability to maintain calm under pressure. That is what our next challenge will test. From the shadows of the hall, several Zalari attendants emerged carrying a floating energy sphere. It was unstable, pulsing with unpredictable surges of light. The Queen explained that this sphere represented the chaos of life. If he could interact with it without fear, without panic, and without trying to control it, he would pass the second phase of the test. Ethan's pulse quickened. The sphere floated toward him, spinning and flickering erratically. He could feel the vibrations in his chest, almost like a heartbeat, wild, uneven, and unpredictable. He reached out cautiously, trying not to react too quickly. At first, the sphere pulsed wildly, reacting to his uncertainty. Ethan took a deep breath, recalling the lessons from yesterday. He focused on staying present, observing rather than controlling. Slowly, he began to move with the sphere's rhythm rather than against it. Each pulse matched his breath. Each flicker matched his heartbeat. The court was silent, watching intently. Solara's eyes never left him. Ethan felt a strange connection forming. The sphere's chaotic energy began to stabilize, and he realized that by understanding it, rather than resisting it, he had become part of the harmony. When the sphere finally glowed steadily, the hall erupted in astonished murmurs. The queen stepped forward, her golden eyes full of pride and admiration. "You have done it, human," she said. "You have shown patience, empathy, courage, intuition, and the ability to face chaos without fear. These are qualities that define the strongest leaders of any species." Ethan exhaled, his body trembling with relief. He had not only survived the trial, but he had proven himself in a way that words could not express. But the queen was not finished. "There is still one final part of today's lesson," she said, gesturing toward Leora. "You must now demonstrate your ability to connect with life directly, to show care, attention, and understanding. You will interact with my child once more, without relying on instinct alone. This will test whether your connection is genuine or merely circumstantial." Ethan's eyes widened. Leora had calmed yesterday, but now he realized that this was more than just pacifying a baby. This was about building trust, forming a bond, and understanding another being's needs without coercion. He approached the floating cradle slowly. Leora turned her glowing eyes toward him, studying him with curiosity. Ethan remembered the lessons from the orbs and the energy sphere: observation, understanding, patience, and connection. He knelt slightly, allowing her to see him at her level. "Hello, Leora," he said softly. "It's me again. Do you remember me?" The baby cooed, her glowing patterns pulsing softly. Ethan smiled. He extended a hand, letting her reach out first. When her tiny hand touched his, he felt a spark, not electric but emotional, a connection of trust. For several minutes, Ethan simply observed, responding gently to her movements. When she cried, he did not try to stop her immediately. Instead, he mirrored her energy, showing that he understood her feelings. Slowly, as if sensing his sincerity, her cries softened into soft coos, and she rested her head against his arm. The queen watched silently, her expression unreadable, until finally a small warm smile appeared. "Remarkable," she whispered. "Not through power, not through intellect, but through understanding. That is the essence of humanity." Ethan exhaled, feeling both exhausted and elated. He had faced the second phase of the test, connecting not just with energy, but with life itself. He realized something profound. Humans could achieve extraordinary things by relying on empathy, patience, and courage, qualities often overlooked in a galaxy obsessed with technology and power. The court erupted in quiet applause, their approval not just for his success, but for the demonstration of human potential. Ethan felt a deep sense of pride. He was a human, yes, but today he had shown that humanity had something unique, something even the most advanced aliens could admire and respect. Solara stepped closer, her golden eyes shining with approval. "Human, you have done more than I expected," she said. "Your connection with my daughter, your understanding of our ways, and your courage in the face of challenges have proven that humans are far more capable than many of my advisors believed. You are no longer just a guest, you are a bridge between our worlds." Ethan felt a mix of awe and humility. "Thank you, Your Majesty," he said. "I will do my best to continue learning and living up to your expectations." The queen nodded. "Tomorrow the trials will continue, but for now The morning sun rose over Zithra Prime, casting golden light on the floating spires of the alien palace. Ethan awoke in his chamber, feeling a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Yesterday had been a triumph. He had calmed the queen's infant Leora and passed the initial trials. But the queen had warned him that more challenges awaited, and he could feel that today's lessons would be even more demanding. After a simple meal of alien fruits and soft energy bread, Ethan was escorted once again to the court hall. Leora floated in her crystalline cradle beside Queen Solara, watching him with curious golden eyes. Ethan smiled and waved. The baby cooed, reaching tiny hands toward him, and he felt a warm, unexpected bond forming already. Today, the Queen began, her voice calm yet commanding, you will learn not only about our culture but also about the challenges that threaten it. It is not enough to calm my child or understand our customs. One must protect and adapt using intelligence, courage, and empathy together. Ethan nodded. I am ready, Your Majesty. The Queen's advisors exchanged glances. A few whispered in low tones, their expressions skeptical. Humans had never played a significant role in Zalari defense or strategy. Most of them doubted a single human could understand their ways, let alone help protect their empire. Ethan felt their doubt, but it did not deter him. He had already proven that human empathy and intuition were valuable. Now he would show them more. A glowing panel descended from the ceiling, displaying a holographic map of Zithra Prime. Bright points of light marked key locations across the planet, including military outposts, energy grids, and diplomatic centers. Suddenly, several red markers appeared, flashing rapidly. These, Zalara explained, represent rogue factions, groups that seek to destabilize our empire. They attack unpredictably using technology and sabotage. Today, you will assist in neutralizing a threat. Do not fear, they will not harm Leora or me, but you must act carefully. Observe, analyze, and adapt. Ethan's pulse quickened. This was unlike anything he had faced before. Yesterday, calming a baby had required intuition and empathy. Today, he needed strategy, observation, and courage under pressure. A guide led him to a control room, filled with holographic panels and floating screens displaying live footage from across Zithra Prime. The room was silent except for the soft hum of energy fields. Ethan noticed that the systems were sophisticated, far beyond anything he had ever seen, but also delicate. A wrong move could trigger widespread disruption. The Queen stepped closer. Observe first, she said. Rogue factions often react to fear or aggression. Your task is not to destroy, but to neutralize. Use your mind, your instincts, and your humanity. It will guide you. Ethan studied the screens carefully. He saw a group of rogue Zalari attempting to infiltrate a research facility. Their technology was advanced, but their movements were predictable. He realized he needed a plan that combined observation, timing, and subtle intervention. He reached out and activated a holographic interface, manipulating projections to create temporary barriers that rerouted the intruder's path. The rogue faction was clever, but they had not anticipated such adaptability from a human. Ethan's adjustments slowed them, buying time for palace security to respond. The Queen and her advisors watched silently. The holographic projections pulsed under his hands, responding perfectly to his commands. Ethan felt a surge of confidence. His mind, trained in human diplomacy and quick problem-solving, was able to integrate with alien technology. For a brief moment he felt like he belonged, not just in the palace but in the heart of this advanced civilization. Then, an alert flashed. One of the rogue operatives had bypassed Ethan's barriers and was heading toward the central energy core of the city, a location critical to the palace's stability. Ethan's heart raced. A direct confrontation was risky, but he had no choice. He needed to act quickly. He focused, recalling the lessons from calming Leora and the harmonic orbs. He approached the holographic interface, combining strategy with intuition. Instead of trying to confront the rogue directly, he created a subtle energy diversion, drawing the operative away from the core without alerting him to the manipulation. The rogue moved hesitantly, confused by the sudden shift in energy fields. Ethan monitored every step, adjusting the holographic projections in real time. Slowly, the operative was guided into a containment zone, where palace security apprehended him safely. The room fell silent. The Queen's golden eyes gleamed with approval. Remarkable, she said softly. You have not only adapted quickly, but used intelligence and understanding to protect what matters. That is rare, even among the Zalari. Ethan exhaled, trying to steady his trembling hands. He had faced a real threat today, and he had succeeded without resorting to brute force or aggression. He realized something profound. Humans, though physically weaker than many alien species, could solve problems in unique ways. Observation, empathy, and creativity were weapons just as powerful as strength or advanced technology. After the threat was neutralized, the Queen invited him back to the palace gardens to spend time with Leora. The gardens floated in layers, suspended above the palace floors, filled with alien flora that glowed softly in the sunlight. Strange birds with translucent wings flitted among the flowers, adding color and movement. Ethan followed Leora's gaze, noticing her fascination with the tiny creatures. He knelt beside her cradle. "Do you want to see the garden?" he asked gently. Leora reached out and giggled, her glowing patterns pulsing softly. Ethan smiled. Slowly, he lifted her into his arms, holding her securely as they moved among the floating walkways. As they walked, Ethan began to notice subtle signs of the Zelari culture that had eluded him before. Leora reacted to patterns of light and sound, responding with coos and movements that matched specific rhythms. It was almost as if she were teaching him how to communicate in her world without words. Ethan mirrored her movements, letting his intuition guide him. The baby laughed, a soft musical sound that made Ethan's heart swell. For the first time, he felt a true connection, not just with Leora, but with the alien way of life itself. The queen watched from a distance, her expression unreadable, but Ethan could sense pride and curiosity in her gaze. Suddenly, a warning signal echoed softly through the gardens. Ethan's heart leapt. Another rogue faction? He glanced at Leora, who looked at him calmly, as if reassuring him that together, they could handle anything. Ethan's mind raced. He could see the source of the disturbance. A small group of intruders had appeared near the edge of the floating garden, trying to bypass security. But they were unaware of the human among them. Using quick thinking, Ethan guided Leora to a floating canopy, keeping her safe while he assessed the situation. He realized he could use the environment to his advantage. The floating gardens responded to touch and movement, creating barriers, light diversions, and even small energy bursts that could slow intruders. Ethan activated these features subtly, guiding the intruders away from sensitive areas without direct confrontation. The intruders, confused by the unexpected obstacles, eventually retreated, unable to navigate the complex, ever-changing pathways. Palace security arrived moments later to apprehend them. Ethan exhaled, relieved but exhilarated. He had faced real danger and protected both the baby and the palace without using violence. The queen approached, Leora safe in his arms. "Human," she said, her voice warm with approval. "You are proving that your species has qualities we often underestimate. Courage, intelligence, empathy, and adaptability. These are the marks of a true ally." Ethan felt a deep sense of accomplishment. He had come to the palace uncertain and anxious, unsure of his place. Now, he realized that human qualities, though simple in comparison to Zelari technology, could achieve results that even advanced aliens could not. Leora reached out and touched his face, her tiny hand warm and comforting. Ethan smiled. In that moment, he understood the meaning of connection, how trust, empathy, and patience could form bonds stronger than fear or intimidation. The queen watched quietly. "Tomorrow," she said, "you will face new challenges, but today you have earned your place. Not just as a guest, but as someone who can bridge worlds. Your bond with Leora is a testament to what humans can offer." Ethan nodded, feeling pride and humility at the same time. He had faced danger, adapted, and connected with life in ways he had never imagined. For the first time, he felt confident that humanity had a unique role in the galaxy, a role that could change the course of civilizations. As the sun set over Zithra Prime, casting golden and violet hues across the floating gardens, Ethan walked with Leora in his arms. He realized that their bond was more than a lesson or a test. It was the beginning of something extraordinary. For the first time, he understood the Queen's offer of marriage not as a political gesture alone, but as recognition of trust, connection, and respect. And deep down, he knew that the journey ahead would challenge him further. But with empathy, courage, and human ingenuity, he could meet anything the galaxy had to offer. Ethan watched the twin suns dip below the horizon, feeling a sense of purpose he had never known. Humanity, fragile yet resilient, had a strength that went beyond technology or might, and in that moment he realized that he was ready for whatever trials awaited him. For himself, for Leora, and for the future of both their worlds. The next day, the palace of Zithra Prime seemed to hum with a quiet tension. Ethan woke early, his mind alert even before the twin suns peeked over the horizon. Yesterday's trials had proven that human empathy and intuition could accomplish what even the most advanced Zelari techniques sometimes failed to achieve. But he sensed the challenges were escalating. Today, the Queen had promised, would test him in ways that required not just skill, but courage under pressure. After a quick breakfast, a guide appeared to escort him to the palace control hall, a massive chamber filled with glowing panels, hovering displays, and projections of the city. At the far end, Queen Zalara waited, standing tall and regal, with Leora resting in a floating cradle beside her. "Human," she said, her golden eyes serious yet calm. "Today's trial will not be simple observation. You will face a real threat, one that could endanger the palace. Your task is to protect this space and ensure Leora remains safe. You will not act alone, but your judgment, courage, and quick thinking will determine the outcome." Ethan nodded, feeling a mixture of anxiety and determination. He had faced challenges before, but this felt different, immediate, dangerous, and unpredictable. The Queen gestured toward the projection screens. Several red markers appeared, representing rogue operatives moving toward the palace core. Ethan observed them carefully. The intruders were advanced, skilled in both technology and evasion. Unlike yesterday's scenario, these operatives could not be manipulated by simple energy barriers. They would require creativity, strategy, and timing. Ethan's mind raced. He remembered the lessons from calming Leora, the harmonic orbs, and the chaotic energy sphere. Each had required patience, observation, and connection. Now he would apply those same principles under pressure. Understanding, adapting, and responding with intelligence rather than force. He approached the control panel, touching a floating holographic interface. His hands moved instinctively, adjusting energy flows and security measures. Instead of confronting the intruders directly, he manipulated the palace's environment. Floating walkways shifted subtly, energy gates rerouted access points, and light patterns created illusions that confused and delayed the operatives. The Queen and her advisors watched in silence, their expressions a mix of curiosity and cautious hope. Ethan felt the weight of their gaze, but he focused on the task, allowing his intuition to guide him. Suddenly, one of the intruders bypassed the defenses and headed toward a sensitive energy chamber near the palace's core. Ethan's pulse quickened. A direct confrontation was risky. One wrong move could damage the palace and endanger Leora. He thought quickly, remembering how he had worked with the baby's energy yesterday. He created a localized energy diversion, a glowing sphere that pulsed in a rhythm similar to the intruder's movements. The operative paused, confused by the sudden shift in energy. Ethan adjusted the pulse subtly, guiding the intruder away from the chamber without detection. The other operatives reacted similarly to his environmental manipulations, finding their paths blocked, misdirected, or slowed. Palace security began moving strategically, capturing intruders efficiently. Ethan monitored every movement, anticipating their actions and adjusting the energy flows with precision. Minutes felt like hours, but finally, the threat was neutralized. The red markers disappeared from the screens. Ethan exhaled, his body trembling with relief and adrenaline. He had faced a real danger, relied solely on his intelligence, empathy, and observation, and succeeded. The Queen stepped forward, her golden eyes shining with approval. "Human," she said softly, "you have faced danger and protected what is most precious to our empire. Few of my advisors could have done what you achieved today. Your courage and quick thinking have proven that humans are capable of far more than we imagined." Ethan felt a mixture of pride and humility. The Queen's words were powerful, but he knew the real reward was the trust he had earned. From her, from Leora, and from the palace itself. After the security threat was resolved, the Queen invited him to the palace gardens to spend time with Leora. The gardens floated above the palace in multiple layers, filled with alien plants that glowed softly. Strange creatures flitted between flowers, adding movement and life to the serene space. Ethan carried Leora gently, feeling her tiny hands grasping at his fingers. "Did you see that?" he whispered. "You were very brave today." Leora cooed and reached toward his face, her glowing patterns pulsing softly. Ethan smiled, realizing how deep their bond had already become. The Queen approached, standing silently as Ethan walked among the floating platforms with the baby. "You are learning quickly," she said. "Not just how to calm or protect, but how to connect. That connection is the essence of what we value in our leaders." Ethan nodded. I'm trying, Your Majesty. I want to understand your world, and I want to help however I can." Zalara's expression softened. "And that is what makes you extraordinary, human. Many underestimate your species because of your physical limitations. But your mind, your heart, and your courage, these are qualities that can change the course of history. As they walked, Ethan noticed small details he had missed before. Leora responded to subtle shifts in light and movement, and he mirrored those motions instinctively. It was as if she was teaching him to communicate without words using intuition and emotion. Suddenly, a faint tremor shook the floating platforms. Ethan's pulse quickened. Something was approaching, a new threat? He quickly assessed the situation. A small group of rogue operatives had managed to bypass external security and were heading toward the garden's core. Ethan realized he had only moments to act. He looked at Leora, who remained calm in his arms, her tiny glowing hand reaching toward him. He felt a surge of determination. He would protect her no matter what. Using the environment to his advantage, Ethan activated the garden's responsive features. Walkways shifted subtly, energy fields created temporary barriers, and light patterns created visual illusions that confused the intruders. The operatives stumbled, misdirected by the subtle manipulations. The Queen and her advisors watched, clearly impressed. Ethan moved with precision, adjusting each response based on the intruders' reactions. He had learned that true power lay not in confrontation, but in observation, adaptation, and patience. Finally, palace security intercepted the intruders, who were captured without harm to the garden or its inhabitants. Ethan exhaled, feeling the tension drain from his body. He had faced danger again and succeeded, using only his mind, courage, and understanding. The Queen approached, her expression a mixture of pride and amazement. "Human, you have proven today that your species possesses qualities that even the most advanced of ours cannot replicate easily. Courage, intelligence, empathy, and adaptability, these are what make a true leader." Ethan felt a warm sense of accomplishment. He had come to the palace uncertain and anxious, unsure of his place. Now he understood that humans had a unique role in the galaxy. Their ingenuity, patience, and emotional intelligence could achieve what sheer power alone could not. Leora giggled, reaching up to touch his face. Ethan smiled and laughed softly. In that simple gesture, he understood the depth of connection between human and Zalari, teacher and student, protector and child. The Queen watched silently, then spoke. "Tomorrow will bring new lessons, but today you have earned not only our respect, human, but also our trust. Your bond with Leora, your courage in the face of danger, and your ability to adapt have shown what humans can offer. You are no longer merely a guest. You are a valued participant in our world." Ethan nodded, feeling both pride and humility. He had faced true danger, adapted quickly, and forged connections that transcended species. For the first time, he felt that he belonged, not just in the palace, but in the heart of this alien civilization. As the twin suns set over Zithra Prime, Ethan carried Leora through the floating gardens, watching the sky change colors from gold to violet. He realized that his journey was far from over. Challenges awaited, but with empathy, courage, and human ingenuity, he could face anything. Ethan knew one thing for certain. He was ready. Humanity had proven its worth, not through technology or strength, but through heart, intuition, and the courage to act wisely under pressure. And in this galaxy filled with wonder, danger, and possibility, that strength would carry him further than he had ever imagined. The palace seemed quieter now, calm in the aftermath of the day's trials. Ethan felt a rare sense of peace. He had proven himself not just to the Queen and her advisors, but to himself. For the first time, he understood that human qualities, empathy, courage, intuition, were extraordinary in their simplicity and power, and deep down, he knew that the next challenge, whatever it might be, would test these qualities even further. But he was ready to face it, confident that human heart and ingenuity could triumph in ways even the most advanced alien civilization could not anticipate. Ethan looked at Leora, who giggled softly in his arms, and then at the golden horizon. He felt hope, determination, and the quiet thrill of adventure. The galaxy was vast, full of unknowns and danger, but he was ready. Humanity had a place among the stars, and he intended to prove it, one challenge at a time. The morning air of Zithra Prime shimmered with energy as Ethan awoke, feeling a mixture of anticipation and nervousness. The past days had been intense, full of lessons, trials, and moments that tested both his courage and his humanity. Each challenge had shown him that human empathy, intuition, And resilience were not just simple traits. They were extraordinary strengths that could even impress a civilization as advanced as the Zalari. Today, he knew, would be the final test. The Queen had summoned him to the throne room early, and the atmosphere was charged with anticipation. He dressed quickly, taking a deep breath as he prepared to face whatever awaited him. Upon entering the throne room, Ethan was struck by how it seemed even grander than before. The prisms that filled the room shimmered in shifting colors, reflecting the energy of the Zalari themselves. At the center, Queen Zalara stood holding Leora in her arms. The infant looked at him curiously, her golden eyes glowing softly. "Human," the Queen said, her voice calm but firm. "You have faced our trials with courage, wisdom, and heart. Today's test is the culmination of all that you have learned. It is not just a challenge of skill or intellect. It is a test of your character, your values, and your ability to protect and connect with life itself." Ethan nodded, trying to steady his nerves. He had faced dangerous operatives, chaotic energy spheres, and delicate emotional trials. Yet the Queen's words reminded him that this final challenge would not be simple. A panel descended from the ceiling, projecting a holographic simulation of the palace and surrounding areas. Points of red indicated threats, rogue factions attempting a coordinated attack. This time, the threat was larger, more organized, and unpredictable. It was a real test of everything he had learned: strategy, courage, empathy, and adaptability. "Your task," Zalara continued, "is to protect the palace, the citizens, and most importantly, Leora. Use your mind, your instincts, and your human qualities. Many have failed when faced with such challenges, but I believe you have what it takes." Ethan took a deep breath. He remembered the lessons from the harmonic orbs, the chaotic energy sphere, and yesterday's defense in the gardens. He had learned to observe, adapt, and act without fear or hesitation. Now it was time to apply all those lessons at once. He approached the control interface and analyzed the movement of the rogue factions. Unlike the previous attacks, these operatives used advanced tactics, trying to confuse and divide the defenders. Ethan realized that a direct confrontation would be risky. He needed to think creatively. He activated a series of environmental adaptations. Walkways shifted subtly to redirect intruders. Energy barriers appeared in strategic locations, and holographic illusions created distractions. The intruders reacted with confusion, giving palace security the advantage. Ethan guided every move with precision, adapting instantly to their countermeasures. Then, a sudden alert appeared. One operative had bypassed defenses and was heading straight for the central energy core, where critical systems were located. Ethan's heart raced. He could not let the core be compromised, but a direct confrontation could be dangerous. He remembered his experience with Leora. Patience, observation, and understanding had allowed him to calm her energy. Now he would use the same principles. He created a localized energy pulse, mimicking the operative's movement and rhythm, gently guiding him away from the core without direct force. The rogue faltered, confused by the subtle manipulation, and was soon intercepted by security. As the final threats were neutralized, the throne room filled with a sense of relief. The Queen's golden eyes met his, shining with approval and pride. "Human," she said, "you have not only protected our palace and our people, but you have done so in a manner that reflects the highest qualities of your species. Courage, empathy, intelligence, and adaptability. You have proven that humans are more than capable allies." Ethan exhaled, feeling the weight of exhaustion and exhilaration. He had faced true danger, relied on his human instincts, and succeeded. He had proven that humanity's unique qualities could match and even surpass the expectations of one of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. Then, Zalara approached, holding Leora closer to him. The baby cooed, reaching her tiny hands toward Ethan. He smiled, gently lifting her and feeling the warmth of her trust. For a moment, everything else faded: the palace, the advisors, the trials. There was only this simple human connection, a bond that transcended species. The Queen's voice was soft now, almost personal. "Ethan, you have earned my trust, my admiration, and the respect of this court. Your actions have shown that your species possesses qualities that are rare and powerful. Today I formally offer what I promised when you first calmed my child." Ethan's breath caught. The moment he had thought was symbolic, almost impossible, was now real. Zalara extended her hand toward him. "A union," not only as a gesture of alliance but as recognition of your courage, empathy, and humanity. Your bond with Leora, your quick thinking, and your heart have proven that you are worthy of this honor. Ethan felt speechless. He looked at Leora, then at the Queen, then back at the floating, glowing prisms of the throne room. The words seemed too grand, too significant for a human like him. And yet, he understood the meaning: recognition, trust, and respect for humanity itself. With a deep breath, he stepped forward, bowing slightly. "Your Majesty, I am honored. I will do my best to live up to this trust and to protect both you and your daughter to the best of my ability." The Queen smiled, a genuine warmth that touched him deeply. "I have no doubt, human. You have already proven yourself." And Leora seems to agree. She gestured to the baby, who reached for Ethan with an innocent, trusting gesture. For the first time, Ethan felt a sense of belonging unlike anything he had known. He had arrived at Zithra Prime as a visitor, uncertain and hesitant. Now he stood as a trusted ally, a protector, and a symbol of humanity's potential. The court erupted in quiet applause, not only for his bravery but for the demonstration of what humans could offer. They had witnessed empathy, courage, and intelligence working together in harmony, a combination even the Zalari respected deeply. Solara led Ethan and Leora to a balcony overlooking the city. The twin suns were setting, casting golden and violet hues across the floating spires. Ethan felt a wave of hope and determination. Humanity had been underestimated for too long, and now he had shown that even a single human could make a difference on a galactic scale. The Queen stood beside him, her gaze on the horizon. "Human," she said softly, "your species has a strength that is often overlooked, the ability to connect, to understand, and to act with courage and empathy. Today, you have proven that humanity has a place among the stars." Ethan smiled, looking at Leora, who giggled and reached out to touch his face. "I understand, Your Majesty," he said, "and I will continue to honor this trust, not just for you but for all humans." For the first time, he truly felt the meaning of the Queen's offer. It was more than marriage or ceremony. It was recognition of human potential, a symbol of trust between worlds, and a promise of collaboration and understanding that could shape the future. As the suns dipped below the horizon, casting their final rays across Zithra Prime, Ethan reflected on everything he had learned. Courage, empathy, and intuition were powerful in ways that advanced technology alone could never replicate. The simple qualities of a human heart had changed the course of events, saved lives, and forged bonds that would last a lifetime. He turned to the Queen and Leora, feeling a deep sense of gratitude and purpose. "I am ready," he said softly, "ready to face the future, to protect this world, and to honor the trust you have placed in me." Zalara's smile was radiant. "Then let us step forward together, human, for our future, for Leora, and for the promise of what humanity and Zalari can achieve together." Ethan felt hope and determination fill him. He had started as a visitor, uncertain and cautious, and now he stood as a bridge between two worlds. Humanity had been tested, underestimated, and yet through courage, empathy, and ingenuity it had triumphed. The palace hummed around them, alive with light, energy, and the promise of a bright future. Ethan held Leora gently, feeling the warmth and trust in her tiny hands. He looked at the Queen, who stood proudly beside him, and for the first time he felt that he truly belonged among the stars. In that moment, Ethan realized something extraordinary. Humans, though simple and fragile in comparison to alien civilizations, possessed a power unlike any other. Their hearts, minds, and courage could achieve what machines, weapons, or advanced technology alone never could. And with that understanding, he knew the future was not only possible, it was bright. Together, humans and Zalari could face the challenges of the galaxy, united by trust, respect, and the simple yet profound power of empathy and courage. Ethan watched the sun set fully, Leora giggling softly in his arms, and he smiled. Humanity had been tested, humanity had triumphed, and humanity had a place among the stars. For the first time in his life, he felt truly unstoppable, not because of strength or technology, but because of what it meant to be human.